Jessie L. Weston's From Ritual to Romance. Chapter 13 The Perilous Chapel. Students of the Grail romances will remember that in many of the versions, the hero, sometimes it is a heroine, meets with a strange and terrifying adventure in a mysterious chapel, an adventure which we are given to understand is fraught with extreme parallel to life. The details vary. Sometimes there is a dead body laid on the altar. Sometimes a black hand extinguishes the tapers. There are strange and threatening voices, and the general impression is that this is an adventure in which supernatural and evil forces are engaged. Such an adventure befalls Gawain on his way to the Grail Castle. He is overtaken by a terrible storm and coming to a chapel, standing at a crossways in the middle of a forest, enters for shelter. The altar is bare, with no cloth or covering, nothing thereon but a great golden candlestick with a tall taper burning within it. Behind the altar is a window, and as Gawain looks, a hand, black and hideous, comes through the window and extinguishes the taper, while a voice makes lamentation, loud and dire, beneath which the very building rocks. Gawain's horse shies for terror, and the knight, making the sign of the cross, rides out of the chapel to find the storm abated, and the great wind fallen. Thereafter the night was calm and clear. In the Percival section of Whiteshire and Menacere, we find the same adventure in dislocated form. And watch, as soon as I finish with this video, the rumbling of the stomach is going to be over with. Percival, seeking the Grail Castle, rides all day through a heavy storm, which passes off at nightfall, leaving the weather calm and clear. He rides by moonlight through the forest till he sees before him a great oak, on the branches of which are lighted candles, 10, 15, 20, or 25. The knight rides quickly towards it, but as he enters near the lights vanquish, and he only sees before him a fair little chapel, with a candle shining through the open door. He enters and finds on the altar the body of a dead knight, covered with a rich samite, a candle burning at his feet. Percival remains some time, but nothing happens. At midnight he departs. Scarcely has he left the chapel when, to his great surprise, the light is extinguished. The next day he reaches the castle of the Fisher King, who asks him where he passed the preceding night. Percival tells him of the chapel. The king sighs deeply, but makes no comment. Wouchere's section breaks off abruptly in the middle of this episode. When Menacere takes up the story, he gives explanation of the Grail, etc., at great length, explains which do not at all agree with indications of his predecessor. When Percival asks of the chapel, he is told it was built by Queen Brangamore of Cornwall, who was later murdered by her son Espinogres and buried beneath the altar. Many knights have since been slain there. None know by whom, save it be by the black hand which appeared and put out the light. As we saw above, it had not appeared. The enchantment can only be an end to if a valiant knight will fight the black hand, and taking the veil kept in the chapel, will dip it in holy water and sprinkle the walls, after which the enchantment will cease. Now, I've seen some connection with this black hand aspect and number 40 from the Goetia. At a much later point, Menacere tells how Percival, riding through the forest, is overtaken by a terrible storm. He takes refuge in a chapel which he recognizes as that of the Black Hand. The hand appears. Percival fights against and wounds it. Then appears a hand, finally, the devil in full form, who seizes Percival as he is about to seek the veil of which he has been told. Percival makes the sign of the cross, on which the devil vanishes, and the knight falls insensible before the altar. On reviving, he takes the veil, dips it in holy water, and sprinkles the walls within and without. He sleeps there the night, and the next morning, on waking, sees a belfry. He rings the bell, upon which an old man, followed by 2 others, appears. He tells Percival he is a priest, and has buried 3,000 knights slain by the Black Hand. Every day a knight has been slain, and every